Good luck.
Merhaba arkadaşlar, hepiniz IEFT Talks webinarlarına hoş geldiniz. Bugün Amerika'da yüksek lisans programları ve avantajlarını Syracuse University'den Chris bizlere anlatıyor olacak. Lütfen sorularınızı sağ alt köşede Questions bölümünden yönlendirmeyi unutmayın. Yes, Chris, the stage is yours now.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the opportunity to be here today to talk to everybody about the Syracuse University Martin J. Whitman School of Management. My name is Chris Wazalik, and I am the Executive Director for Graduate Admissions and Student Recruitment, specifically focused on all of our full-time programs. So again, thank you so much for joining us today, joining me. I'm really excited to talk to you about our programs and give kind of the brief overview of some of the unique parts of the program. I'll try to share maybe some of the most important links in the chat feature. And I see a lot of people chime in. Hello to everybody. Thanks again for coming. There's also a question and answer part. So if you do have questions along the way, feel free to type in those questions. And I will, of course, try to answer those as we go through or definitely at the end of our time here. So real quickly, here's the agenda for today. I have just a brief bit of information about the university overall that I thought would be important to share so you know more about Syracuse University as a whole. I have some detailed information about some of the overall pieces of the Whitman School of Management and the history of the Whitman School of Management. And then we'll dive real quickly into our programs. We have a full-time MBA program that I'll talk about, which is a traditional 2-year MBA program on campus. And then we have 6 different MS programs, Masters of Science programs. And I'll give a brief highlight of each one of those. And again, then move on to just so you know what the application requirements are, as well as then opening it up for Q&A at the end. So here's some brief history overview of our university. The picture there that you actually see is probably our most historic building on campus, just for reference sake. That's called the Hall of Languages building. And it's one of the original buildings from 1870 when the campus was first established. Our location, we're about 5 hours to the north and west of New York City. We're only about a 5-hour drive to the south of us to Washington, D.C., similar about driving distance to Philadelphia. So we are really in central New York State with very easy access to some major cities in the U.S., as well as Toronto is only about a 3.5-4 hour drive to the north of us into Canada. So some really major metropolitan areas really surround us. New York City being for sure the most important one, as we have a lot of connections to New York City with our alumni and corporate sponsors. Across the university, there are 13 different colleges or various disciplines to be aware of, not only the School of Management, but there's School of Engineering, there's Information Systems, there's Visual Performing Arts, there's Newhouse, our mass media journalism school. So there's lots of really different features to the university overall with all these different individual schools or colleges, the School of Management being one of those. At any given point on the entire university campus, there's over 6,000 graduate students in MS and PhD programs. And that our overall student body, which is about 20,000 total students between undergrad and graduate students, represent well over 120 countries, as it says here, in all 50 states in the union. So here's a quick glance at Whitman. Let's tell you more about what Whitman is all about. We were one of the early adopters into the Association of Advanced Collegiate Schools of Business, or AACSB, which is the most sought after accreditation for a business program, business school. As you can see, there were 16th officially. We currently have just over 2,000 active students in our Whitman School of Management between undergrad and graduate students that make up that large university population I was mentioning before. We do have over 500 graduate students. That's when you combine our full-time master students, our online students. That number is probably growing a lot closer to even almost 1,000 graduate students. But if we look at what we have on campus at any given point as a full-time student, which is again the focus of today, we usually have about 250 active full-time master students who would be your colleagues and people that you would network with, no matter which master's discipline you're in, that they would be your colleagues on campus. that you would get to know probably and meet and work with most regularly. We have a pretty state-of-the-art facility. So the Whitman School of Management building is only just over 15 years old now. So in regards to academia and looking at the Hall of Languages building that we looked at first from 1870, relatively newer on that spectrum. Over 22 classrooms in the building. We have a very large number of these team meeting rooms, though. These are all state-of-the-art spaces. The classrooms are fully functional with Zoom now after the pandemic because of hybrid learning that needed to occur, as well as all the other interactive features that may need to be needed, outlets at the desks for laptops, smart boards in certain spaces. The meeting rooms, though, however, is a very unique facet to the program or the setup in our building. They're right on the graduates floor on the third floor. Most of your classes and our office is located. So most of the resources you would need on the third floor. There's also a large number of these team meeting rooms. And basically our students would use these rooms to work on group projects or to study individually. We actually have seen over the last year and a half students using these team rooms, which is really great to see, for internship and full-time job opportunity interviews, as so many things we know have moved to being virtual. Same thing with the interviews now. Companies are very comfortable with having those interviews be virtual. So we see those team meeting rooms, even be used for those type of interview activities. So we have, like I said, over about 20 of those that are accessible for you to take advantage of. Lots of different clubs and organizations that go on here in Whitman. The one to point out of probably the first most interesting one is the Graduate Student Organization Club. So that's just for graduate students in Whitman. It's led by the graduate students. The decisions are really led by the board, whether the type of activities you're going to participate in a given year. So whether that's, having more guest speakers that talk about different aspects of business, maybe it's have more of a social activity event like a Halloween party, American Thanksgiving party, things like that. Maybe an international potluck with different foods from different parts of the world. So whatever that group wants to do that year, to really be more involved with each other as a Whitman graduate student body overall, that's what that group helps us set up and put the logistics in place to have those type of events. And you can see here there's other groups too. Toastmasters is always really exciting because we can all work on our public speaking skills. Even myself, I know I stumble from time to time, so it's always good to get involved with a club like that to practice those public speaking skills, get ready for future positions where you may have to speak in even a small group or a larger group, but being able to practice and be comfortable speaking in front of other people. So I think Toastmasters is always one to consider as well. So that gives you more of the ins and outs of Whitman overall. So I'm going to dive into a little bit more details on our MBA program. The first thing to note here, which is really important, it's very new and recent, is the fact that we do now have officially STEM designation for our full-time MBA program. Of course, that's extremely important for any of our international candidates because it can extend your OPT after graduation. So the details of our curriculum: 2-year MBA program, traditional MBA, like I mentioned earlier. It's a total of 54 credits. 36 of those credits are core, 18 credits of electives. The unique thing about the electives is where you can take those courses and focus them on the specializations that are here listed on the right. So it only takes 9 credits to do one specialization. The majority of our MBA candidates are therefore taking advantage of that opportunity with the 18 elective credits and completing 2 specializations. And this is where we now have the specifics of the STEM designation. So this is important to note. The specializations that are noted here with the asterisks are the programs that do have STEM designation and therefore are the pathway to have your MBA actually STEM designated. So it's business analytics, finance, marketing, supply chain management. If you were to complete any one of those specializations in your MBA, that's how we're able to then process the STEM designation when you graduate. One other important thing to note here is that we do allow students to take credits outside of Whitman. So every once in a while, maybe there's a student that's interested in a class in law or a class in new media management in a different school on campus. You can access those classes as long as those schools would allow you to enroll, and they can still count towards some of these elective credits in your MBA. So it gives you as much flexibility, I believe, as an MBA really can, between specialization options and being able to complete multiple if you'd like. Now STEM designation is approved, as well as the ability to take some classes outside of Whitman are all really critical. One of the most important facets of the School of Management in general, but very important to the MBA as well, is experiential learning. And experiential learning comes in a lot of different forms for sure. Here's just a few of those highlights that we see in our building and in our programs. Internships, community engagements, specialized courses that are developed towards doing projects with companies. One of the things that we have been focused on, I think, as a Whitman school for the last couple of years is finding ways to make this more intentional, where experiential learning is not just discussed and implemented in some of these facets we see on this list, but have it really ingrained in some of the curriculum. And some of the initiatives now the school has developed to further that is developing, for example, a true certification program to help students get additional certifications outside of their education. I'll give you a quick example of that. We now have the ability to sponsor students with things like Excel training, Google trainings on things like Google Analytics. We have the ability to help with CFA training. So there's ways that we can help you achieve other certifications, other goals outside of your degree that will only further advance your career opportunities to have those other credentials on your resume. And the way we can now do that is by helping sponsor the financial piece. So that's really important to note. We are, like I said, intentionally expanding experiential learning and trying to make it a more part of the ingrained culture in the building beyond what's listed here. So it is a big part of Whitman and definitely the MBA program. Just a quick overview of what our MBA class profile looked like this year. You can see our average GMAT score, our ranges, our GPA here. Important to note, I think, is the work experience. So our MBA doesn't require work experience. It's always encouraged and preferred. And you can see we do have a nice average of over 4 years with this current group. And historically, we typically see somewhere between a 3 to 5 year average of the class each year. So this is right in line with that. But it's important to know, again, we don't require work experience, so we have a great range of experience in the program too. We have some candidates that come in with more like 8 or 9 years of work experience, and we do have a few students each year that come in with maybe 1 year or even less coming straight out of their undergrad program and had other facets to their candidacy to bring them into the program right away. So this is just, like I said, great to see the overall profile and know more about the breakdown of the program. One other piece that's not noted in our class profile listing here that might be of interest to you. Typically, our mix of female to male students in the program is almost 50-50 most years. It obviously varies a little bit, but pretty close. Same thing right now with our domestic to international enrollment. The last few years has been much closer to 50-50 in the MBA program specifically. So I'm going to give you a quick, brief overview of the MS programs one by one here, just some of the highlights. And then we'll be close to the end of the presentation after I can give you information about the application procedure and then answer questions for you about school management, about Syracuse University, about our programs. So here's the list of our full MS listing of our programs: professional accounting, business analytics, entrepreneurship, finance, marketing, supply chain. Again, the ones designated with STEM will give you the extended OPT after graduation. So the MS in accounting. The main goal with the original development of this program is to help students work towards being a CPA. So the CPA certification is definitely different state to state in the U.S. So their current requirement here in New York State is you have to have 150 total college credit hours to be able to get your professional accounting certification. So typically the bachelor's degree alone does not achieve 150. That way, this program continues the accounting knowledge and builds a student up to that 150 requirement. So that's really the goal there. The program, as it says here, it actually can accommodate students who don't have an undergraduate degree in accounting. It extends the program, but it gives you that ability to do that. It's focused on being able to help students get to the CPA and sit for that CPA and be successful on that. As you see here, it has many different firms that are the big firms in industry coming to here, hiring our graduates all of the time. They visit campus for career fairs that we host here in Whitman. So that's important. And this program, while not STEM designated yet, it has been in the process of getting the STEM designation. They have revamped the curriculum to add appropriate analytic courses like accounting analytics and other couple classes to move it towards STEM. They're just waiting for that official approval, but it is nice to note that we know that this program is attempting to add that designation. And once it does, any future student that joins the program, as well as current students, that the designation is approved before their graduation would be able to have that designation at graduation is the key. Our business analytics program. This program is in about its 5th year, I think now, of existence. It's really grown over time with a lot of more interest in business analytics, especially just in data in general, right? The programs out there driving companies or driving candidates into positions in companies where they are looking for people who can come in and look at their data and organize their data and present their data in an easily understandable way for everybody else in the company to impact business decisions. That's the goal of this type of program. It's definitely not a data science program where you're focused on computer programming. It is more using tools like like Tableau, like Excel, to take the data, clean the data, warehouse the data, and tell the story, learn from the data, and share that story with others. This program is available as part of, or this program does have some customization to it. It's kind of unique in the sense, and the director of the program just told me that this past year that about half of the courses are truly analytics-driven courses, and the other half have some flexibility. And you can see here that it says there's even the ability to take some MBA core courses as elective courses in this program. So even though it's an MS program, which are usually very structured, I would say this program, our analytics program, does offer maybe the most flexibility of any of our MS programs. Our entrepreneurship and emerging enterprises program. This program is relatively small most years, typically only about 10 students or so, very tight knit cohort each year. It gives you a real opportunity to have a mentoring type of experience with the faculty in the program, since the program is so small. And that's huge. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you have a passion to go out and start a product or a company on your own, then that is the type of program that you would want to be involved with. So you can see here that these are the specialty areas, whether it's new ventures, social entrepreneurship, corporate entrepreneurship, or family entrepreneurship. Those are the areas you can focus on in our program. We have a lot of different opportunities on campus to hone your skills. And these are different centers in our building, basically, or centers you can be involved with, whether it's our launch pad, incubator, or our entrepreneurial internship program. We have tons of business plan competitions to get startup funding. We do our own similar type of competition to like Shark Tank. We call it Orange Tank. So there's extracurriculars available. Entrepreneurship is really ingrained throughout Whitman, and it's really one of the stronger supportive programs in that sense. Our MS Finance program has had a long history of success in our school, probably one of the first MS programs we offered it when we started having MS programs. As you can see here, it's ranked 29th by TFE Times. Pretty historically, always in the 20 to low 30 range, so it has a very reputable ranking there. The specialty areas that we offer in finance are corporate finance, investments, and real estate. So real estate's a big part of Whitman too. We have a lot of sponsors, and we have alumni sponsorship, endowment for real estate. So that's important to note. So real estate kind of pops up in a couple different areas. Not only do we offer those areas and focus to get you to where you want to be, we have these things like the Bloomberg terminals. And again, some of these new funded opportunities to get certifications outside of what we offer in the classroom. We have an additional scholarship, for example, for a CFA, for completing any section of the CFA, I should say. So let's say you complete section 1, level 1, while you're a student at Whitman, you would let us know and we would give you an additional $1,000 scholarship basically as a congratulations for doing that while you're enrolled in our program. The MS Marketing program, another STEM designated degree that we do offer because of its quantitative nature in the way it's been set up. You can see here, as it mentions, this is really a program to prepare marketing professionals to be leading roles in this field. So it really does take all of the core pieces of marketing, product, price, distribution, promotion, as it says, and focuses it in an analytical light to prepare you for marketing positions in industry. This program also is relatively small. It has grown a little bit, but none of our MS programs are really larger than 30 to 35 students at most. So a lot of them give you that opportunity to really be mentored by not only your advisor, your academic advisor, but your program directors, your faculty, and your career counselor, which hasn't come up yet, but I'll make sure we'll talk about briefly in a moment. The supply chain management program, almost through all of them. This program is supply chain itself, which started off as, I believe, logistics program back in 1919. So one of the first true supply chain programs in the country, which is pretty cool to have that founded here at the Whitman School. The curriculum here is, again, focused on experiential learning, as well as developing, your strategic thinking skills, like it mentions. Again, very analytical program. That's how this program, with its quantitative pieces, was able to get the STEM designation. I think one of the great things with the experiential part of this program is, even during a pandemic, I know some of the students that were taking supply chain courses that were able to go out and work with local factories and companies here in the greater central New York area to discuss their supply chain issues. And boy, have there been a lot of supply chain issues since this pandemic started. But looking at things that they could impact maybe on a smaller level with some process improvement, but also just their overall supply chain challenges. But what a hot topic for sure it has been for the last couple of years in the classroom, and been able to really hone in on real life challenges and real life examples that have been happening. Thankfully, toilet paper, I don't think, is one of the supply chain issues anymore, but there are a lot out there. So real quickly, just so you can see what an overall study plan option would be for our MS curriculum programs. Back in the beginning, when we were talking about the MBA, it's a very lockstep 2-year program. There's not a lot of flexibility in regards to your length of study. The MS programs, however, for the majority of them, they're 30 credits, which gives you this flexibility of how long you'd like to enroll and complete the degree. Most of our international candidates will typically choose the 16-month or 21-month option, because it gives you that natural break in the summer to do an internship, as it notes there in the 16-month, and you could really do that in either option. But you can complete the program in as little as just 9 months, which is 1 academic year. You have that option. Nothing you have to decide before you come to campus, before you enroll. It's something you can work out with your academic advisor once you are here. And then real quickly, this is the difference with the analytics program. So the analytics program, out of all of the programs we were looking at, is the only one that is technically 36 credits. They have a couple extra courses in their program. So your options really are either a 16-month track, which would be the 1.5 years, or the 21-month, which would be a full 2 academic years. Because of the additional credits, it's too many credits to really be able to complete in 1 academic year. But still has some flexibility between, like I said, a 1.5 years or a full 2-year program. And probably the best piece of that is, again, offering you time with an internship in the summer. So real quickly, how do you apply to one of these fantastic programs that we offer here at Whitman? We do have an online application. We do have typically a $75 application fee. I want to make sure everybody notes that if you reach out to me after today's event, I can definitely offer you a application fee waiver for attending. I just put my email address in the chat, so you have that. If CWazalic is hard to remember, don't worry. We have a generic email address as well that I'm putting in the chat that you can send messages to, and that's just bucksgrad@syr.edu. Mention that you came to today's webinar. happy to waive your application fee and give you an application fee waiver code. It's individual for each person, so you have to contact us. We do have one application essay to submit. Important to note, our application does have a specific question we would like you to write back to us about a specific topic. It's not just a general personal statement, so please be careful of that. And that's good advice for you as you look to any master's application, is make sure you read the application essay question, because it's not always as simple as just write a personal statement. We have a unique component to our MS application. So this is not for MBA. This one is specific to MS. Some little nuances to each program's application process. The MS application does have a 5-minute video component where you need to answer three questions out of a pool of questions offered to you and record yourself answering them. So that's for all of our MS applications. We also do require 2 letters of recommendation. Typically, those come from either maybe a previous supervisor from work experience you've had, or maybe a faculty member you're in touch with from an academic standpoint. We do require the GMAT or GRE in the MBA program only. The GMAT and GRE is actually waived for all of the MS programs right now. It is not required. If you have taken the GMAT or GRE, we encourage you to still submit your score, because it can have a positive impact on your merit-based scholarship offering, which I will talk to you more about in 1 second. But it is not required for admission purposes for any of the MS programs. It is a requirement only for the MBA, so just keep that in mind. And we do have to have an official score report sent to accept it to be reviewed for any consideration for scholarship or admission requirements. We also ask that you submit a transcript. It can be unofficial. It does not have to be an official transcript for the admissions review process. You wouldn't need to submit your official transcripts until the time of enrollment. For any international candidate, we do require an English proficiency exam. We do now accept TOEFL, IELTS, the PTE academic. We actually also accept the Duolingo as well. So any one of those exams can be submitted. From time to time, there may be an admissions interview requested of you. Again, not a requirement. So that is the general application requirements for the program. We do have 2 application deadlines still remaining for fall 2022 if you were still looking to apply for this year. One is coming up on March 15th. That's our regular application deadline. And then we have an additional one on April 15th. I just want to note again, if you are thinking of any of those MS programs and you haven't taken a standardized test for GMAT or GRE, remember, it's not required. So there's still plenty of time to get an application in, because a lot of these things on this checklist, you'll find that you'd be able to put together relatively quickly, I think, outside of taking the time to do the essay and making sure you track down people to do your letters of recommendation. And that's really everything I had to share today. I'm definitely going to open the floor for questions. I am going to make 2 last point of notes here before I answer those questions, though. Obviously, here's my contact information again. Again, my name's Chris. It was a pleasure to be able to have this time to talk to you today about our programs. But again, the 2 things I wanted to note that wasn't specifically in our presentation today is, one is we do offer merit-based scholarships for all of our master's programs. You do not have to apply separately for those merit-based scholarships. You are automatically considered for them once you are admitted. So your file, your candidacy file, goes straight from the admissions committee to the scholarship committee as soon as that admissions decision is made to admit you as a candidate. And so you would receive both your admissions offer and scholarship offer usually within a couple of days of each other. Our average merit-based scholarship for the MS programs is about 20 to 25% of the total cost of tuition. The MBA program actually has endowed awards and a lot more support than any of our other programs. So those MBA scholarships can actually go all the way up to 100% offer, but on average is more in the 40 to 45% range of tuition. So just wanted to make sure I noted the scholarships. They are available. You don't have to apply separate. And over 90% of our admitted candidates do typically receive some type of merit-based scholarship. The other item that we didn't go into too much detail, I'd mentioned briefly, was the piece about our actual Whitman Career Center. We've seen a lot of great growth in our placement stats over the last year, coming back out of the pandemic, where jobs are really starting to open up again. This last year's class did very well. So that was positive to see. But one of the things that we can attribute to that is we do have a dedicated career counselor in our School of Management, in our School Management Career Center. His name's Anand, and he only works with master students. So Anand isn't split between trying to work with so many undergrad students, then work with grad students. He's a dedicated counselor that only work with our master students. So he will meet with you one-on-one. He will actually start getting to know you as a candidate prior to the start of the some fall semester, your first semester in the program. In the summer, we do an online virtual onboarding course with him. Not a graded course, so maybe course isn't the best title for it, but it's a great experience where you get to start working on your resume with him, working on a cover letter, and learning more about the tools that we have available to do a robust internship and job search while you're here in the Whitman School of Management. So those are just a couple other features that I wanted to note that I know didn't explicitly have slide information on, and I'm going to jump right into some questions now. I'm going to start here at the bottom here and work our way up to the oldest questions first. What is the minimum GPA requirement for finance master's programs? If we have one, is it possible to get accepted with a GPA lower than a 2.5? So our typical recommended GPA, and this is a great question. The typical GPA requirement to be admitted to any of our programs is at least a 3.0. I would say if you're anywhere under a 3.0, you really should consider submitting a GMAT or GRE score, because that can be the one piece of an application that can kind of counterbalance if you have a subpar GPA. I also recommend you potentially submitting a supplemental essay that talks about, because you can submit additional information to your application. There's a section on the application form that you can submit supplemental information, supplemental essay type of information that you would like. So that's important to note. And anything under a 3.0, that might be worth writing that additional supplemental essay to talk about why your GPA may have been that low. But again, I think the best angle to still potentially be admitted, if your GPA would be under a 2.5 especially, would to have a strong GMAT or GRE score to show that you're still a strong academic candidate that can actually do master's level work. Obviously, if you have some work experience, that can help as well. But the one thing that you can directly control, I would say, is submitting that standardized test. But I wouldn't make any promises for sure if that can be really completed or be an admittable GPA. It would really be up to the admissions committee of the program you're applying to ultimately. Do you have career service with any partner companies for internship opportunities for foreign students? So we do work with a wide variety of companies in all different industries. And again, that's the benefit of having the dedicated career counselor, because we don't have these ginormous programs with enrollment numbers of 100 people in each program of every section of every cohort or anything like that. We have smaller programs overall that build up to that overall student enrollment of, in any given year, we typically have 150, maybe 140 new master students across the programs in total. So again, the dedicated career counselor can work with each of you. So it's really on a case-by-case basis. What industry are you interested in? What companies? He can try to make those connections, and we definitely have the opportunities for foreign students to do internships as well on CPT once you're through your first year in the program. Can you inform us about living conditions? Excuse me. Sure, absolutely. Hold on one second. Did not get a chance to finish my coffee here yet today, so apologize. So we are located in downtown Syracuse, but Syracuse is a small to mid-sized city, very safe overall area to be. If you drive 10 minutes outside of the city, because of where we're located, you will find parks and lakes, hiking trails. We have the Adirondack Mountains not far away. So there's a lot of green activities to do outside too, or outdoor activities. Overall, living conditions are pretty well. So one of the features that we offer on our website is we have recently partnered as a university with apartments.com. So apartments.com gives you this opportunity to go out and seek places to live around campus with pre-vetted apartments that have been approved for this type of listing that are quality to live in and safe. So I think that's just important to note. We have that once you're an admitted student, and there are definitely a lot of great options right around the campus for living. And therefore, I think the living conditions can be pretty good. Of course, there's always some situations out there, like any area, that you want to watch out for. But that's why I think having that might not be as nice of apartments, but that's why I think having the pre-vetted website now is really helpful. Next question. Do you have online class options? Can we start the program without actually going to class? So yes and no. We do have online class options. We have several of the programs I was highlighting today, which of all of our full-time in-person programs, do have a copy program basically, or the same program offered as a fully online program. Different admissions process, actually different admissions team that I don't manage, that works with our other assistant dean, who oversees all the online programs, the online curriculum. So the online programs include business analytics, MBA, entrepreneurship, excuse me. So there's a few options for sure. Supply chain management, you can see those on our website. Not all the programs, but some of them. That's a fully online. You would not come to campus or to the U.S. for that program because it's a fully online program. You wouldn't be able to get a student visa to actually come to the U.S. It would be something you could take from home. The second question, though, can you start a program without going to class? The answer to that one is unfortunately no. So during the pandemic, as many institutions did in our country, and I believe around the world, we had to do some type of level of remote learning for sure and hybrid learning. But we have been able to come back in person this year. We have over 95% of our students, faculty, and staff vaccinated on campus as part of the requirement to return to campus to be safe. That was what was implemented. And we're back in person. We are actually starting to now even reduce some of the mask requirements. They still are required in the classroom, but we've been safe, we've been open, and therefore we've been able to move back away from the hybrid option. And we are now back to a fully in-person program. Great question, though. Do you offer online programs? I think I just mentioned that. You can visit our website. Actually, I can put that in the chat again, what our homepage is, just so that everybody knows where they can access all of the information about all of our programs. So just bear with me for 1 second, and I will add that to the chat. I just put our homepage for Whitman in the chat now. I'm going to pop back over to the questions and make sure we answer everybody's. So yes, great question. You'll find more about the online programs and the full-time programs on the Whitman homepage. Somebody said Duolingo score is accepted. Great. Yes, it is. If you're curious about minimum score requirements for any of this test scores, I didn't go over that. Let me start with the English proficiency exams, since those are required still for all international candidates. If you take the TOEFL, we are looking for a score of at least 100. If you submit the IELTS, we're looking for a score of at least a 7.0. Typically, these are all the recommended scores. If you take the Duolingo, we're looking for a score typically of at least 120. So that gives you kind of the idea and the range there. For GMAT, we're usually looking for a minimum score of at least 600 is the suggested score. For GRE, because we do use a conversion, that's typically around a 315 or so to convert to a 600. Is there any architectural master's programs? So there are a lot of other graduate programs at SU. There is a department for architecture. You would need to go on to our website and look that up on the main syr.edu homepage. You'll be able to find more information about all of the graduate offerings across the campus. But architecture is definitely not my area of expertise, unfortunately, as it's not part of the Whitman School of Management offerings. Can I please share the accommodation options? I don't think you necessarily missed that question. I didn't talk too much about it. The one piece I guess I didn't mention earlier when I was talking about the apartments.com and where we're located and all the options to live around campus, we don't really have traditional campus housing for graduate students. There is a small amount of housing available that you can apply for and try to get in on the south side of campus, where we do have some suite apartment style living, but it's very limited, unfortunately, for graduate students, just based on the number of undergrads we do have. So most of our students will find the off-campus housing options. And to be really honest with you, most of the off-campus housing options, once you start getting into the details of expense on a monthly basis, they're traditionally a little bit less expensive than what the actual on-campus housing truly ends up being over the course of a school year. What is the lowest GPA Syracuse will accept? I sort of laugh and hesitate on that because I don't know if there is a true lowest GPA. Every application, I can tell you this, is a holistic review process. The committee is not only going to look at your GPA, they're not only going to look at your test scores, they're going to look at everything you submit, they're going to look at your work experience, they're going to read through your resume to see that information, they're going to look at your letters of recommendation, they're going to read your essay in great detail. So I don't know that there's a lowest. I can tell you, I think the lowest GPA I've seen that a student got admitted with is maybe a 2.3. But in all honesty, I've been at Whitman for 3 years. I'm coming up on my 3rd year now. So I don't know if there's a history of somebody getting even a lower GPA and still being accepted based on their other credentials. The holistic review, like I said, is probably the most important part because they're trying to look at your candidacy overall to identify if you're academically qualified in their mind to be somebody that will be successful in the program, because we don't want to ever admit somebody that won't end up being successful. It's not good for you as a candidate. It's not good for the program either. So the whole goal is to make sure that you're academically somebody who would be successful based on the credentials you've submitted. The other piece is obviously we are trying to identify people that may develop into great leaders down the line that we can help support in their career. Again, there's a lot of pieces to review for that holistic review, and it's not a cookie cutter process where we can say, yes, here's definitely the lowest GPA we've ever seen accepted, here's definitely the lowest GMAN, how could that be, and what are the other factors that go into it? So I don't know for sure exactly. It's a great question, but I can tell you that, again, we have a holistic review process. We do offer a PhD in business, not my department specifically. We have a separate PhD department. If you want to send me an email, I can connect you with the contacts in that group if you have questions specifically on what we offer for a PhD. And again, if you visit the Whitman website that I put in the chat, you'll be able to find more information there too. Do you have any dual degree programs? We do have quite a few dual degree programs. A lot of them are sort of pathwayed into our program from other aspects. So you wouldn't naturally just apply to it as a dual degree student now coming to Whitman first. I'll give you a quick example because that might sound a little bit confusing. We do have a JD MBA program as one of our dual degrees. You can get your law degree as well as your MBA at the same time. But to do that, you would actually go and apply to the law school first, get accepted to the JD program, and then you'd have the option to apply and add the MBA in your 2nd year of the program. So again, it's not as straightforward just apply to a dual degree right now. We also recently established an MD MBA with Upstate University right down the campus, or right down from our campus here in Syracuse. Upstate's a phenomenal hospital organization here in Central New York, one of the strongest hospitals in all of the upstate New York area. So they have a great medical program. We've been able to, like I said, establish that relationship. Similarly, though, you actually apply to be in the MD program and become a doctor first, and then you apply to be part of the MBA and take advantage of a true dual degree option. So there are dual degrees for sure. Like I said, they're not necessarily something that you just apply directly in and say, hey, I want to apply to this dual degree. It's really applying to one facet first and then the other. But we do have a few of those available. So we have a question about tuition and fees. So tuition is on a per credit hour rate. So our per credit hour rate currently is $1,734 per credit hour. And the total number of credits in the program right now is, or I should say, sorry, the total cost of your tuition right now is you would take that per credit hour rate, multiply it out by the credits in the program. So most of the MS programs being 30 credits, they're just over 52,000. If you look at the MBA program being 54 credits, it comes in as a total tuition cost of just around 93,000. Again, we do offer merit-based scholarships to help reduce the cost of that tuition. Accommodations, again, like I said before, most of the students are staying off campus, so those accommodations will vary. We do have cost of attendance examples on our website, because part of your admissions process as an international student is to complete the certification of finances and submitting your support documents, and you have to achieve a certain level of financial support to be able to receive your I-20. So there's a whole process there. So we have the suggested cost of attendance on the website. But again, that's not necessarily a true cost of what accommodations would be, because it's an estimate. And honestly, it's probably an overestimate intentionally, because that's what we have to do with the way the government establishes that process. So again, probably the most important part to know is the tuition is $17.34 a credit, and then you multiply that out by the program that you're most interested in applying in. We already talked about PhD. Again, feel free to contact me and I can put you in touch with that office. Just a couple questions left here. Do you need work experience to apply to the MBA? Great question. I tried to answer that a little bit earlier when we were going about application materials, but in case you missed that, work experience is not a requirement for the MBA. The GMAT or GRE still is. One piece, though, to note that I did not mention before. If you have significant amount of work experience, 3 or more years, definitely if you have 5 or more years, you could qualify to still apply for us without the GMAT, but that is a case-by-case waiver process. So if you go to our website and look at the MBA pages and look to contact us, basically, there is an option in there where you can schedule an appointment to talk to myself or one of my colleagues about requesting a GMAT fee waiver, as well as just about the programs in general. So I am going to look for that link. Just give me 1 second here, and I'll put that in the chat as well. And feel free, if you feel like you want to apply to our MBA, fantastic. We'd love to have your application and consider you for the program. You can, again, request to meet with us. If you have 3 or more years of work experience, there is the potential that we could waive that GMAT requirement. If you don't have significant work experience, then yes, you can still apply for the MBA because it's not required, like I said before, but instead you would definitely need to have a GMAT score. So I just copied in our calendar link to the chat. When you click on that, it'll give you a couple different meeting options that you can schedule with us, whether it be to talk about a GMAT waiver for the MBA program, talk about your candidacy in general for any of our programs, or talk about degree equivalencies. Because one of the things we do require, which is a challenge for some students from certain countries, most likely typically India, is you do have to have a 4-year U.S. degree equivalent bachelor's degree to qualify to apply to any master's program across our entire university. That's not a Whitman specific requirement. That is the entire university. So now we're getting close to the end of our time here. I've got one more question in the questions box right now. Does anybody else have any other questions? Please type them in. Last second questions. As I answer this other one here from Muhammad. Score of 666 on the GRE out of 170, and you missed the conversion part. Sure. So I'm assuming the 166 must have been on the one section, because each section is out of 170, right, Muhammad? So 166 is typically a good score. We're looking normally at a score of at least around 315 overall on the GRE. But if the 166, for example, is your score on the quantitative section, that would be fairly strong. If you want to look at your scores on a GMAT scale, there is a conversion chart you can find. So if you go on the ETS website or you just Google online, search for GRE to GMAT conversion, you'll find a scoring chart. And again, typically for us on a GMAT scale, 600 and higher is really strong and what would be admissible for most of our programs. So that is the last question I see currently in the question box. I'm going to check the chat to see if anybody else had anything else they needed to add in there. I don't see anything else in here for questions. I really, again, want to just thank everybody for their time today. It's been an absolute pleasure and honor for me to join you and talk more about our programs and what we offer. And again, hopefully you were able to grab some of the links from the chat section, and my email address is on the screen here. Again, please feel free to reach out to me. I would also be more than happy to set up an individual Zoom meeting with you if you don't want to go through our general calendar. I have my own personal calendar. Happy to do that with you when you send me an email, and be more than happy to talk with you one-on-one about your candidacy, about programs you're interested in, about the application and scholarship process. Thank you again all for your time. It's been a pleasure.
Yes, thank you very much for the great presentation, Chris. It was a great session and you covered all of the questions. Thank you for your answers too. Also, I would like to thank the participants in Turkish as well. Katıldığınız için teşekkür ederiz arkadaşlar. Umarım sizin için de faydalı bir webinar olmuştur. Turkish University ile ilgili diğer sorularınız için chat kısmında paylaşılmış olan mail adresinden Chris'e ulaşabilirsiniz. Aynı zamanda linkleri incelemenizde faydalı olacaktır. Bir sonraki webinarlarımızda görüşmek üzere. Thank you very much again, Chris. It was a pleasure to have you in IEFT Talks. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.